Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I often note I'm going to circle back. I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly. I'll circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back, that's an excellent question. Circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back with all of you.
Think cocaine or not? What do you think?
This is such a good question. I have not had the opportunity to dig into that. I'll circle back.
It was a massive dump. To this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from.
I'm not aware of anything, but we'll circle back.
This uncircumcised Philistine, who does he think he is?
As a mom myself, I want to know all the details. I have to circle back.
Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
I will venture to get you an answer on that, and maybe we can talk about it, and you'll circle back. I will have to circle back on that one. But we'll circle back. But I will have to circle back with you. Let me give you a very specific example. I'll circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back.
This president knew back in January. Why didn't he tell us? Why did he warn us?
There are a number of ways to combat misinformation. One of them is circle back.
You told us that Trump was invincible and Hillary was in a prison, right?
I don't really have any predictions for you on that. I can circle back. Let me see if I can get more detail for you on that. Circle back.
I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Did you?
We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. I'll circle back. I don't have anything more for you.
We'll circle back.
And that communication has been lacking.
Circle back.
Well, as you know,
We'll circle back.
let me give you a very specific example. I'll circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back with all of you.
Good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, the star of the Mission Possible movies, Tom Jews Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
There was a few different puns there, weren't there?
Couple, yeah.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Muddy Waters of Freedom. Be sure to like this and share this right now. Share the video right now. Share the podcast. However you're listening to this or watching this, share it right now. Just share it right now. And be sure to
comment it.
Like it, share, comment. Do the things that make the engagement go up. Show big tech that we're going to control them for a change by even more using their platform. Check us out on Facebook, Float, Anchor, everywhere. We are everywhere. Check us out everywhere. Wherever you can find us, be sure to like, however you're listening to this or watching it right now, like us, follow us, subscribe to us, whatever it's called on the platform you're using. Do that thing that is the thing that you do when you want to show that you love us. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to hit the bell. We want your phone to literally explode with notifications every time we go live. Please don't rob yourself of that. Give the gift of Muddy Waters today. Kids love it.
Kids love it. First and foremost, I would like to thank siestacava.com for the kava I'm drinking on today's episode. siestacava.com.
And I'd like to thank Lible for my delicious, purified, ultra pure, kosher, made in America, BPA free. BPA free? Is this BPA? I hope so. BPA free, non-carbonate. It's water.
Kosher
water, as opposed to that pig water that they sell down the street. Pretty sure water's kosher. It's halal too, I heard. It's vegan and gluten free. Bulavanaka. This episode, of course.
Sorry. Yep, you're right. I'm wrong. You do your thing.
This episode, of course, is brought to you by the Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, the fastest growing caucus that's related to waffles ever in anything. Ever. Be sure to join us on Facebook, on the Facebook group, Libertarian Party Waffle House Caucus, to become a member today. And if you want to become an accredited member, which is even better, because then you're accredited, then go and buy a button. Muddy Waters Libertarian Party Waffle House button. Go to muddywatersmedia.com, hit the old store button, and then go and buy the button at the store. There's a 2-button store process there. This episode is also brought to you by Nug of Knowledge, smokable CBD oil. Now, Nug of Knowledge is not like most other CBD suppliers because they're selling weed. Also, they also, every bit of part of the proceeds go towards fighting the war on drugs. And they also have a compassionate use program for veterans and the disabled and people who cannot afford these smokable CBD products. They also, people that smoke this weed, find that they are, it helps them, many people, not all, we can't guarantee it, they find that it helps them with joint pain. They find that it helps them with a quick pick-me-up and also with just their overall mood and inflammation because it's weed. This episode is also, of course, brought to you by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, who was, and shall remain a bitch.
A bitch.
Of course, this episode is also brought to you by Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. Personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law. If you find yourself personally injured in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, as one does occasionally, then I have a silver lining for you for that situation. I think it's terrible that it happened, and I hate it for you, and I wish it hadn't. But if it did happen, then the good news, thankfully, you will be able to get money. And the way, and so I can't guarantee you're going to get money, but you might get money.
We can guarantee whatever we want. Chris Reynolds can't guarantee anything.
Chris Reynolds cannot guarantee.
Right. We can guarantee whatever we want. We are not legally culpable for that.
I don't feel comfortable guaranteeing it, but I know Chris is a good attorney, and he will do his darndest to get you that sweet, sweet moolah that you so desperately need in this time of personal injury. And so if you feel as though you have been injured in a way that is personal to you in or around the Tampa Bay area of Florida, then I invite you to go to chrisreynoldslaw.com, and he will presumably, I don't know how it works, but you go on there, you fill out, just contact Chris Reynolds, attorney
and
at
he
law,
will try to get
injury
you compensation for your personal injuries.
Yes. So, Matt, we have a special show.
We do have a special show.
This show's not like other shows. Well, actually, it increasingly is. In that we actually have a special guest.
We do have a special guest. Straight from Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is a wonderful city with a wonderful aquarium. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachael Torrence.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Rachael, thanks so much for coming on.
Glad you're here.
Now, you are running for correct me if I'm wrong, the District 3 City Council race in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
Well, before we get to that, let's start with, whenever we have a libertarian on the show for the first time, we always ask this. What is it that got you into libertarianism and the Libertarian Party? Was it like an aha moment, or was there a gradual evolution over time? Every libertarian has their genesis story. Tell us the Rachael Torrence story.
So interestingly enough, I actually voted for Gary Johnson in 2016 and didn't know anything about libertarianism at that point. The same thing happened in 2020, and I was like, who am I going to vote for? I actually decided at one point I was going to write in Dolly Parton because I was just so over the options that we had. Someone introduced me to Joe Jorgensen, and I started listening to what she had to say and what Spike had to say. Spike is actually my Ron Paul. So I started listening to whenever you started talking about things about going into colleges and knocking on doors, that really just opened up my eyes, and started volunteering in June, and I'm a baby libertarian. So here I am.
Well, so you're going from baby libertarian to automatically running for city council.
I love it.
Yeah.
I respect that so much.
I love this.
I'm a libertarian now. I'm taking over this city, and I'm starting with District 3 of Chattanooga. Let's go.
Now, Rachel, this speaks to my power that not only did I excite you about libertarianism, but you went straight from I'm not sure what I think to I want to run for office as a libertarian. Now, I don't want to take 100% of the credit because I presume that you've done some legwork in running for office. But is it fair to say I could take at least 15% of the credit?
You are the power.
I love it.
At least 15% of the credit.
At least 15, like a minimum. I'm not saying it's like 40. I'm saying at least 15, maybe even like 20 to 25%. The numbers don't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to us about, so you live in Chattanooga, and what is
Wonderful
it that you
town,
saw?
You both asked me a question at the same time.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just saying Chattanooga, great town. I used to live in Nashville, and we would do weekends in Chattanooga. Great town, a lot of fun.
So you're running for this office. What was it that you saw that made, besides me, after seeing me and being so inspired to now live your life in its purpose, which I have given you, after that, what was it that drove you to say, I'm sorry. What is it that drove you to say that, well, I should be running for this office? What is it that you saw in Chattanooga that made you say, I want to vote to be the change in Chattanooga, or I want to run for office to be that change?
There was our incumbent was running uncontested, and so my local party just was like, hey, why don't you jump in? And I just kind of looked at them and laughed, like, no, not this shy girl. This shy girl is not going to run for office. No way, no. And so I really just started to think about it a little bit deeper. And it's a risk I can take, but it's not really going to hurt me if I actually try. So yeah, risk taking. I saw that what I had to lose was to lose. So I was like, okay, there's only one person. Our district is about 18,000 people that are registered to vote, and only about 2,000 of those actually vote in these local elections. So that's one thing. Wow. And it was really stepping out of my comfort zone, and I was okay with that.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
No, that's Go ahead. I was going to say that's absolutely amazing. Now, it's been a while since I've lived in Tennessee, and obviously I've never lived in Chattanooga. But what are you aiming to achieve in Chattanooga? What are some of the issues going on in Chattanooga right now that you are looking to turn around?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I want to do is to roll back some of those restrictions that we've put on businesses and let them actually thrive. I mean, we had Walmart and Lowe's, all of the big box stores were thriving while our mom and pop stores were kind of on edge. So rolling back some of those restrictions and going after some of the harmful regulations that we have on our people. So it's really our people is the biggest focus for me right now, and we have an awesome city, and it just needs to be shown liberty.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now, I saw on your website earlier today that one of the things that you are actually working on is getting rid of the mask mandate.
Yes.
And I am all for getting rid of mask mandates.
Yeah.
100% not a fan of them. If you want to wear masks, do it. If not, how big of a hurdle do you think that's going to be to do? how entrenched is it in Chattanooga right now?
Well, right now we have our mask mandate that was extended through March 31st. The biggest thing is that we have people that feel like if you don't wear a mask that you don't care about people, and there are people that or you have to wear a mask. So it's really getting rid of that binary. I don't care about people because I choose to allow someone not to wear a mask. I mean, that's not the case at all. It's the virus is very real, and we have to focus on the virus instead of, oh, that person's wearing a mask and that person's not. They don't care about you.
Right. Let people be free to make their own choices and all of that. So you have an incredible team around you. Some of my favorite people in Tennessee, who, like you, I'll be seeing this weekend at the Libertarian Party convention, Libertarian Party of Tennessee convention in Lebanon on Saturday and this coming Saturday and Sunday. Tell us about some of the people on your team and how they've been helpful in this. Because one thing I've learned in doing my show, Culture of Winning, and talking to libertarians who have won similar races across the country, is that they are only as strong as the team and the people that are behind them. Tell us a little bit about your team.
So I've got some awesome people on my team. I've got Ryan Jenkins. He is actually 13 and does his own podcast. He knows more about politics than anybody that I know. I also have Angela Pence, who has phenomenal planning strategies, and I think even through some of your events, Spike, she was there for at least 3 of them. Yep. And I mean, I've got the whole Hamilton County Libertarian Party standing behind me. David Tyler is awesome with some of the financials. We've got an excellent team here in Tennessee, and even across Tennessee, I've got Dave Jones, who has been awesome promoting me. We've got Keith McQuarrie, who's let me use his studio. This team is just awesome, and it really is about the people. This group of people has been surrounding me so much in the past year and growing me, so I really appreciate them.
Yeah, no, they're really, really cool people, and you have, like I said, your team can take you a lot further than any individual candidate themselves can go. It's you as the candidate that does the inspiration of, and it speaks to you as a candidate for that many people to be coming on and being a solid part of your team. But it is that team that will propel you to greatness. So that's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not growing up, living in Tennessee for a good portion of my adult life. I am a huge fan of all things Tennessee, and I didn't get into the Libertarian Party until after Tennessee, but the people that I've met from the Tennessee Libertarian Party are absolutely wonderful. Every one of them is a great person.
Well, I don't know why that's. Just keep going. I don't know why that's happening.
Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, there was just like face.
There we go.
But no, the people that you've surrounded yourself with sound like you have picked just a wonderful team, and honestly, if I was going to be picking a team in Tennessee, you named like everybody I would have on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're amazing. So Rachel, Angela's friend Rachel, because Angela's on your team. Rachel, talk to us about how people can help you. So they want to help you get into Chattanooga City Council in the District 3, running against this previously unopposed person who you are going to stomp in the race. How can people help you? Where can they find you? Tell us all your points of contact and all the way people can reach you.
You can reach me on Facebook at Rachael T District 3. That's RACHAEL. And on my website, RachaelTDistrict3.com. If you want to volunteer, we need people for early voting, which is going on right now, through through February 25th, we have early voting, and then March 2nd is election day. So let me know if you want to volunteer, and
that's
I
coming
can
up
get
like
you.
real soon.
Oh yeah. So let me know if you want to volunteer, and I will get you. I'll get you in a place to volunteer.
Okay, everyone, go and help Rachel right now because it's her race is in
2 weeks.
Her race is in 3 weeks. Yeah, go go help her now.
Like
she doesn't have till November. Go now. Go everyone. I mean, watch the end of this show to the end, and then go and help her, and then go to bed.
Whatever device you are watching on, continue watching on. Grab one of your other devices.
Get another device.
Donate on that device.
Keep listening to us, but go donate and sign up to volunteer on device number 2. Then circle back to our. We're circling back now. Circle back here to our show that you never actually left. Rachel, before we let you go, thank you so much for coming on. Before we let you go, do you have any final thing that you want to tell our lovely viewing audience at home?
The biggest thing I want to say is that we're all essential. I want to make sure that everyone knows that it's not about what the government says about you. We're all in this together.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well said.
Rachael T for District 3, and go find her on all. Would I say something wrong?
It's Rachael T District 3.
RachelTDistrict3.com, and go find her on all social media as well. And Rachel, thanks again so much for coming on, and good luck, and I'll see you in a few days.
All right, thank you.
I'll see you in just like 4 sleeps. So
four quick sleeps.
Just 4 quick sleeps before Spike in Tennessee Day. So folks, that was great. RachelTDistrict3.com. If you want to help her, I think she's gonna be great in that race. We are going to have a very short intermission while we go connect on the other thing that isn't as buggy as this one. And we're going to have a really short intermission, and we will talk to you in, I think, like a minute and a half. So we'll see you soon.
Got that.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a look.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat.
Filter.
Cat. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat.
Filter.
I'm not a cat.
Wait, he's not a cat? Never has been.
Wait. Hi. I don't know what just happened.
I don't know what happens there. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome. What the hell just happened?
Well, welcome back to the muddied waters of freedom with me, Guy on left, Matt right, and Spike. I'm not coming up with another nickname today. Cohen.
Oh, here I did. Okay, I see what I did.
Okay. Everybody give it up for Rachael Torrence. She was great. That was a great guest. I did not realize that her race was coming up that quickly.
No, I'm glad we had her on because I had no idea. And I don't, what did I do to me?
I don't know what you did.
Here we go. Hey, everybody. Yeah, no, she was a great guest, and I'm glad that we were able to get her on in time to have a race in 2 weeks. So that's no wonder only 2,000 people vote in her area, because no one knows when it is. They just like, oh, tomorrow we're voting for what? So, well, folks, without any further ado, it's time for our next segment, which is, of course, the Black Cold Brewed Caffeinated Rapid Fire segment, brought to you by Black Cold Brewed Organic Coffee, spelled BLVCK, because nothing matters anymore. You can say whatever you can just spell things however the hell you want. It's 2021. Nothing matters. Go to blackbrews.com, blvckbrews.com, to have the most delicious cold brewed organic coffee to ever be horrifically misspelled. Be sure to use code MW for free shipping. And speaking of free shipping, Matt, thankfully, well, it's not really a thankfully. Speaking of free shipping, Donald Trump got a free shipping to being able to run again.
Yes, he did. He survived his second impeachment conviction hearing with a vote of 57 to 43 to convict, which means that 7 Republicans voted to convict, and that included Richard Burr of North Carolina, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney of Utah, Ben Sasse of Nebraska, and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. 2 of those surprised me.
Yeah, I was surprised by Burr.
Yeah.
And Cass. I would say Toomey, but Toomey's actually been pretty anti-Trump since the election. So I think Burr and Cassidy somewhat surprised me.
Those were the 2 that kind of.
Yeah, the rest of them, and maybe Toomey even, I fully expected. Now, again, as I noted on Kennedy, not name dropping or anything, I go on Kennedy sometimes. As I mentioned there, if the Democrats
I'm
actually
gonna pick that up for you. Hang on. Here's
on Kennedy, as I noted on Kennedy, if the Democrats in Congress really wanted to get rid of Donald Trump, they would pass the censure measure that is invoking Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which says that anyone who gave comfort to the enemy, and that is decided by Congress, just like the impeachment, with high crimes and misdemeanors, they can decide what is giving comfort to the enemy, makes them ineligible to run. And the only way that can be overturned is with a 2/3 vote. That could be passed with a simple majority, but it can only be overturned with the 2/3 vote, and that would have rendered Trump ineligible to run. The fact that they didn't do that, and that instead they went through with this, knowing full well, in fact, that was a high, 57 was much more than I honestly expected. I thought it would be 54 or 55. So the fact that that they still didn't come, I mean, they were 9 senators away from being able to. 10 senators away from 67, that they were 10 senators away from being able to convict Trump and make him ineligible again. They knew it wasn't going to happen. They wanted to continue to create this divide. They wanted to make sure that he can run again because they need him as their boogeyman for their endless good cop, bad cop routine. Just like the Republicans needed Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and they'll need Joe Biden for this next one, or Kamala Harris if Joe Biden isn't president anymore. This is a, they need each other, because why the hell else would you vote Republican or Democrat if it wasn't for fear of the Democrat or the Republican? So it's the theater we expected.
Do you think Trump runs again?
Yes. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. He's doing all this stuff. Now, if he doesn't, I'm not going to be shocked. Because he is an old man, and he may find an heir apparent, either an actual heir or just someone who's going to take the Trump America First mantle and run with it. But I honestly see Trump running again. He's doing all the stuff you would do if you were going to run again. Almost. So I do. Oh, no, not quite. But anyone listening to this is going to be not.
Yeah, anybody who's listening on Anchor is going to be like, what is happening?
In the hell is going on right now? But no, I think it's like 65-35 that he runs again.
Yeah.
Which is what the Democrats want. They are intentionally whipping him up to run again and run another Biden v. Trump race, which Democrats think that they'll win, and Republicans think will keep their splintering base in line to vote for him just to stop Biden and to vote for MAGA Nation or whatever. So I think it's going exactly how we expected. And speaking of going exactly how we expected, Andrew Cuomo's basically murdering people and covering it up, Matt.
Yeah. Since March, Andrew Cuomo has killed more New Yorkers than bin Laden. In a moment of tone deafness. I made that joke. Also, Andrew Cuomo's secretary, Melissa DeRosa,
technically it's not a joke. That's why I went.
It's factual.
It is
a factual thing. He has murdered more people, more New Yorkers than bin Laden did. But she apologized to Democratic lawmakers for withholding the state's nursing home death toll from COVID-19 because they feared that the real numbers would be used against them by federal prosecutors, which would have probably been true had Trump won.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. She didn't withhold it from us, the public, which would be bad enough. They withheld it from the federal government. They committed fraud against the federal government. You know that thing where, like, if you write something wrong on your tax statement or, on your application for a license, the stuff that they say can happen to you. Imagine if one of the questions is, how many people died at your house? And you didn't answer that one right.
If you say 13,000, you're going to prison forever.
Yeah, especially if it turns out it's way more than that. So this came as a revelation to some after Cuomo's mandate early in the pandemic that ill-equipped nursing homes had to accept recovering COVID patients that were being discharged from hospitals, even though the elderly are among the most vulnerable, exponentially more vulnerable to the deadly disease. We talk about the fact that for, the overall public, the fatality rate is somewhere around 1%. It's as high as maybe 2%. It's as low as maybe 0.3 or 0.6%. It's kind of all over the place there, but it's around 1%. When it's nursing home residents, you're in the double digits. It's now like 1 out of every 7 or 8 people who get it are going to die because they are very old and they have multiple comorbidities, including things like existing lung problems and COPD and heart problems and, recovering from cancer. Some of them are in essentially hospice palliative care. Like they're going to die from it. Like the odds of them surviving it are exponentially worse than literally everyone else. So that's where the government sent the COVID patients.
Yep. And when DeRosa was asked about why they withheld it, she said they directed the Department of because when they hang on. I stumbled all over that sentence. When she asked why they did it, she said Trump directed the Department of Justice to do an investigation on us. So they decided to cover up the more than 13,000 seniors who died from COVID. And why did they lie? Because we weren't sure if what we were going to give to the Department of Justice or what we give to you guys and what we start saying was going to be used against us. And we weren't sure if there was going to be an investigation.
She told the people who would do that. So you know how we talk about if you get pulled over by the police?
But okay, so she did not tell the people that would do that.
She told lawmakers.
These were Democratic lawmakers in the state of New York. These were like the city council members. These were city council members and state house and state senate, state house. Oh, I don't know what New York has, but the state lawmakers,
the state legislature in,
but the Democratic Party, because later she decided get ready to do the next. Later she did it. She wanted to apologize for lying, but instead of apologizing to the families of the 13,000, this is what she said instead. So we do apologize. I do understand the position that you were put in. I know that it is not fair. It was not our intention to put you in that political position with the Republicans. This was her apology.
We're sorry that this might have hurt you electorally against the Republican Party. Not, we're sorry that we just broke federal law and defrauded everyone involved by hiding the fact that our administration's policies were directly responsible for the deaths of 13,000 people. Because let's dive into this briefly. Do you remember when we were first told for the longest time, there's a few people here with COVID, but it's really not that bad here? Do you remember that period? Like, this was in basically this time last year. So it was like from late January,
roughly a year ago.
Pretty much through February, we were told, there's one student in Boston and there's 2 people in California and 1 person in Illinois. It turned out it was spreading wildly and there was no way to track it because the CDC and the FDA weren't allowing COVID testing. And so those few cases that we knew about were people that had either been screened coming in or were tested illegally and the results were released to the public. As it was spreading out of control, state governments were taking suspected COVID patients that were recovering and shoving them in nursing homes. The nursing homes were saying, hey, we don't have the facilities in place, the protocols in place to protect the most vulnerable people in this country from COVID. Leave them in ERs and emergency rooms where they do have those kinds of protocols in place, where they actually can protect the rest of the public, because that's what they deal with constantly. Hospitals that deal with things like SARS and things like that and know how to have the toughest, biohazard restrictions in place to make sure that the virus doesn't spread to everyone else. And the states, Washington and New York, the chief among them, said, nah, we're putting them in there. So then in about a roughly 2-week period of time, we went from, there's not really a lot of people that have it here, I think we're okay, to, oh no, a bunch of people have it, and the fatality rate is like 6%. The reason the fatality rate was so high was because they were only reporting the cases in the nursing homes, and the deaths were high as a result of that. That's what led to all the panic that we're still suffering from now, that created these lockdowns, that created all of this counterintuitive garbage that has done nothing to effectively slow the spread of the virus long term. All of that happened because of that weird panic period in the beginning of March, first 2 or 3 weeks of March, where we went very quickly from, there's really a few people that have it here, but we have to stay vigilant, to it's everywhere and people are dying and the fatality rate is as high as it is in any developed country. Absent all of that bad government policy at the federal and state level, we wouldn't have had that panic. It's almost like they did it for that reason. Or they're just idiots. But they also covered it up, which tends to lend itself towards them meaning this. Or being idiots. Yeah, no, it could be. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was going to say, in all honesty, that's a coin flip. I'm not sure which one it is. It could definitely be either one of those two things. It's
certainly not stopping them.
I mean, they could just be purely idiotic and evil together.
Like a weird, evil. Like a special combination of stupid and evil. And the thing is, right, they are, even if it's because of stupidity and ineptitude, they certainly haven't had any problem seizing on the panic they've created to justify even more control, which they clearly used so amazingly with the control that they already had. So yeah, but this is an absolute. There's no apology for the 13,000 dead because of their decisions. There's an apology to Democrat lawmakers because it might hurt them in elections. Who here, you can put in the comments, folks, how, what are the odds that this is going to lead to, a massive investigation and arrest? Who here wants to, put it this way? If you think
I heard. So I don't know how true this is because this was secondhand, but I heard that the Department of Justice was looking into it, but then they dropped it shortly after this.
You weren't supposed to say that yet. If you think, don't listen to Matt. You might. This might happen. And if you think it would happen, then we've got a great deal for you. And I don't know if this is legal, but do it anyway. Well, you could. If you think that Andrew Cuomo is going to be criminally prosecuted for this obvious crime of fraud and kind of murder, sort of, then go mass murder, then donate money. You can bet money on by sending it to muddywatersmedia@gmail.com. And if
PayPal.
Andrew Cuomo, and you can just say, this is a bet for that Andrew Cuomo will be indicted. We are not taking bets for him not being indicted. Only for being indicted. And if he is indicted and prosecuted, we will give you double your money back.
That's right.
So just, I know there's some people feeling optimistic.
But I don't even remember what the last bet was.
Didn't happen. It was equally not going to happen.
But we had.
Oh, if you just want to donate, so Sean Reicher asked, what if they just want to donate? Then you can donate to muddywatersmedia@gmail.com on PayPal. Or on Anchor. You can go on Anchor, or you can go on Float and give us some of that crypto you've been hodling. So, speaking of making a donation to, oh gosh. Speaking of a worthy cause that apparently isn't going to happen.
A couple of weeks ago, when Joe Solosky was on our show,
yes.
we praised collectively the way that South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem handled COVID-19 in her state. Did a fantastic job. Credit where it's due. In that same vein, we have to take our shots at somebody when they deserve it. So, after turning to the courts to stop voters from legalizing recreational marijuana in South Dakota, Governor Kristi Noem says she will also veto any attempt by lawmakers to give voters what they've demanded in both a constitutional vote in their state, as well as what they've told all of the people in their capital that they want.
So basically what happened was there was a ballot initiative for 2020 that was approved by 54% of voters to legalize marijuana. Her administration sued, said that it was unconstitutional. She got a judge to rule it unconstitutional and throw it out. Now she's saying if lawmakers try to do a similar thing, that she'll veto it, which means they'll have to have veto-proof they'll have to have a veto-proof margin to be able to overturn her veto, which is probably not going to happen. She also, in addition to that, she also is pushing to try to indefinitely delay their medical marijuana program that's already been approved. She's a drug warrior. She's bought into the hype about, weed's the devil's lettuce and it's going to kill you. And it's, it's going to, you're going to get on worse drugs by starting with weed or whatever. And, the woman who we have been praising for saying that she trusts the voters of her state, the people of her state, to make smart decisions for themselves when it comes to their health, is now saying no, not so much. Not she trusts him when it comes to a pandemic, but not whether or not they're allowed to put a plant in to consume a plant, smoke it or eat it or consume it in some other way.
That's right. Now, a couple of stats from South Dakota. From 2009 to 2018, 31,883 people were arrested for marijuana in South Dakota, 95% of them for possession offenses. In 2018, roughly 1 out of every 10 arrests in South Dakota was for marijuana. From 2007 to 2018.
Wait, 1 out of every 10 arrests of... Wait, 1 out of every 10 arrests for anything in South Dakota?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to. Jeez, go ahead.
Marijuana arrests in South Dakota increased by 166% from 1,500 in 2007 to 4,218 in 2018.
Gosh.
Now, we all know the reason why that happens, and it's called fundraising.
Yep.
On average, the arrest rates for Native Americans and Black South Dakotans has been over 5 times higher than for whites for the 10-year period from 2007 to 2018, 2007 to 2018.
Yep, and even though we know, like, I don't know specifically for South Dakota, but nationwide, we know that usage rates of marijuana are roughly equal between different races. There are some slight increases and decreases from racial demographic to racial demographic, but a lot of those are actually more tied to rural versus suburban versus urban living, and also poverty levels. South Dakota is almost entirely rural, meaning that they're probably very similar. There would be no reason other than the reasons for all of the different racial discrepancies and arrest rates that it would be 500% higher.
98% of marijuana violations in South Dakota from 2007 to 2016 were standalone offenses, meaning the individual was not charged with any other crime. In addition, 99.1% of marijuana arrests ended with no weapons being seized by the police. And based on the percentage of arrests made for marijuana compared to the overall law enforcement costs for South Dakota, the report estimates that each marijuana arrest costs the state approximately $4,000.
So this cost $8 million, roughly $8 million per year, or going up to $8 million per year to put people, not to mention the opportunity cost of losing people that otherwise could be earning an income and generating money for the economy and paying tax revenues and all that stuff. Just the cost of putting them in jail and prosecuting them and everything else. $4,000 per. You're spending $8 million a year in a very small state to stop people from competing for big pharma for things like pain management and even just recreational use. It's absurd. This is exactly, when people talk about, the Republicans are closer to libertarian on some issues. Yeah, sure. On taxes, sort of, maybe. On spending, not anymore.
It depends. Yeah. I was going to say on taxes, it depends, because when it comes to spending, Republicans, they will quickly jump out in support of law enforcement, military. We need to make sure that they are the first to go with the roads argument. You drive on the roads, you need the roads. How else are you going to who's going to build the roads? As though, there weren't roads before the income tax. But Republicans are quick to go there. So as times since I've become a libertarian, Republicans are less and less like libertarians.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the case with Democrats as well. We get people saying, "Well, the Democrats agree with you on the war on drugs and immigration and the wars." And I'm like, not always. And then there's all that other stuff that they disagree with us on. The reality is, broken clocks are right as often as twice a day. Well, they should be at least twice a day. that's really what we have with Republicans and Democrats. They are broken clocks that are occasionally right, but the vast majority of the time they are absolutely wrong. And this is another example of it. I mean, she literally said the reason why we're not going to implement these lockdowns and mask mandates and everything else is because I can trust the people of my state, but not with a plant. So now, thankfully,
but not with weed.
But here's you want to talk about trust. We trust you so much that we have a segment where we let you leave messages for us, and sometimes we don't even listen to them ahead of time, and we play them live for the first time. Not Matt usually plays them first, but not always. Sometimes we don't, and every once in a while we regret that. But that's how much we love and trust you. And so that is what we call this segment, which is the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment. And if you go to anchor.fm.com anchor.fm, no, it's not .fm.com. Anchor.fm/muddied waters. You can listen to all of our episodes by podcast. You can also leave messages for us by pressing the message button, and we will play them right here during this segment every single week. You can also make a donation to us. There is a link there that you can donate money, actual money, directly to me and Matt. Now, you do not have to make a donation for us to listen to or play.
We did not play our new sponsor.
This episode is brought to you. Gosh, I don't even know if I have. Here, we're going to do the sponsor. We're going to circle back to that sponsor after this segment. And then from then on, the segment, the sponsor will be at the beginning. But yeah. So yeah, you make a donation. You do not have to make a donation for us to play your message or answer it, but we will like you more. So without further ado, here is our first question from Luke.
Hey, Spike and Matt. This is Luke. I have 2 questions for you. One of them is a joke. The other one is very serious. The first question will be the joke question. What is your favorite dinosaur? I want to hear from both Spike and the other guy. And second question, are birds real? That is all. Thank you, guys.
So, what's your favorite? What's your favorite dinosaur?
The pterodactyl has always been my favorite.
I like the one that
of the Dinobots from Transformers. The pterodactyl was my favorite. I think his name was Grimlock. It's been a long time.
I'm trying to think who my favorite was. I mean Optimus Prime, really. Oh, dinosaurs. My favorite. It's been a long day, folks. Who is my favorite dinosaur? Or what is my favorite? I guess who? It's relative. My favorite
Jeff the dinosaur.
Jeff the dinosaur. My favorite dinosaur, I think, would have to be it's easy to say the T-Rex. Actually, my favorite dinosaur is whatever that thing was they made in the newer Jurassic Park installments, where it was like some kind of hybrid dinosaur. No, my favorite dinosaur is whatever ate that thing at the end of the first Jurassic Park. What is the new Jurassic Park series called? It's not, I keep wanting to say A New Hope, but that's
Lost
definitely
World.
not it. Jurassic World. The Jurassic World. Yeah, Jurassic World. That thing at the end that the T-Rex and the Velociraptor team up to push the bad thing that they made into
Swoop was the Transformer pterodactyl, not Grimlock. Grimlock was the T-Rex. Somebody's 13-year-old was right.
I actually like the tape cassette. The one that would...
I think that was Soundwave.
Was the cassette sound wave?
Shockwave?
I know that there was the actual player.
Oh, the cassette. The actual
Yeah,
the
the thing
little dog cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't know what that was.
That might be my favorite dinosaur. Birds are not real. No.
Somebody said mixtapeosaurus. Yeah, birds aren't real.
Oh, are we do? Well, we'll do that at the end. We'll do a mixtape.
Trust me, there are questions.
Are there? Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, there are
Okay,
questions.
cool. So here is our next question. But yes, no, birds are not real. Next question from Patricia.
Good evening, guy on left, and Spike, who's never going to give us the mixtape Cohen. This is Pat Dixie. I'm starting to think that the whole reason Spike is holding out is to one-up Matt Hicks and the infamous hot dog story. Please give us the mixtape, Spike. Thank you kindly.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Hashtag
This is
find Spike's mixtape.
This is a little known fact. Spike's mixtape was released a few years ago. Martin Shkreli owns it. So, and he's never going to release it along with the Wu-Tang album. So you have Spike Cohen's mixtape next to the Wu-Tang album.
So it was actually seized by the feds.
Right. So the government.
So it's really their
has
fault.
Spike Cohen's mixtape.
The federal government will probably never release it because they don't want to deal with the fire that they'll spread. Because it's fire. No, what's a clue about my mixtape? It's called Spike Cohen Mixtape. Like, there have been all these deep dives that people have been doing about, like, maybe it's after Jeremy Cohen, or maybe it's, what were some of the other ones? Maybe it was his porn name, which I never did porn, but if I did a porn name, it wouldn't be under my porn name. It's called Spike Cohen Mixtape. You're not going to find. I will eventually have to release it because I still have a copy of it. I still have like the files and everything, but you're not. It's not. They're not going to find. I mean, good luck. I guess it's not impossible that you find it, but you're not going to find it. But so, yeah, no. So in looking to help narrow it down, it's just called Spike Cohen Mixtape. So hopefully that helps. Here is the next question from Adam.
Hey, Matt and Guy on right. This is Adam from Missouri calling in on the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds attorney at law anchor call-in moment. And my question for you is a bit of a complex one. One of the biggest issues I've noticed with with libertarians in general is being able to converse about controversial topics. I've noticed they tend to devolve into very unproductive arguments where everyone leaves angry. My question is, what would you recommend people do to help improve themselves on this issue? And how would you recommend people try to help others improve on this issue? Thank you and have a great day.
That's a really good question. Do you have any thoughts on this? I obviously have some thoughts on this, but what?
Right. And for anybody who knows me, knows that I'm really not the right person to answer this question. But honestly, how people can, when people are debating, especially when they're debating other libertarians, we've talked about this a couple of times on the show, and a lot of it comes down to definitions and communication.
Yeah.
So what you have to understand, I mean, there are certain things, definitions, it doesn't really matter what your definitions are. AOC is a liar. But no matter what, when you're coming down to certain definitions, like capitalism is a big one. Capitalism is a
Yep.
big one between the right libertarians and left libertarians. You have to come from a point of being able to say, what if I'm wrong? What if the way that I have been defining this word is wrong? Instead of going in bombastically full-fledged thinking I am right about every single thing here. You have to be able to take a step back and say, what if I'm wrong about one thing here? Because that will open it up where you are able to learn and where you are going to be able to be a better listener in those situations.
Yeah. What if I'm wrong? Or even what if I'm right and we're just using two different sets of definite? That's a big one in the libertarian world. Like,
right. But that's why I said, what if I'm wrong about this definition?
About the definition. Yeah. What if I'm wrong about my actual beliefs? I might actually learn something in this conversation. And also, what if I'm wrong in what I'm applying? I rarely say the word capitalism anymore, and here's why. Capitalism is a term that was coined by Marxists to describe the system that we have right now. Libertarian capitalists and laissez-faire, people decided to rebrand the term as what we describe, which is a free market system that doesn't exist. So if it was defined by Marxists, and the thing we describe it as doesn't exist, but what does exist is the thing that was defined by Marxists, which they call capitalism, and which is generally understood by most people to be capitalism. I'm not saying you can't say you support free market capitalism. I still consider myself an anarcho-capitalist. It just means that for most people, that's not what it means to them. So if someone comes to you and says capitalism's the problem, I guarantee you that they're not saying that what you want to have is the problem. So if you're already going to start arguing with them by going, we don't have capitalism, you're not a lot different than the people who say that wasn't real communism. No, it wasn't real communism, because real communism is a pipe dream. Real communism is the idea that after the implementation of a state of the proletariat, that it will eventually evolve and break down into a stateless society with no hierarchies. Anarchy. That's what they call real communism. But they often get stuck with having to defend actual communism that actually happened. And they go, well, that wasn't real communism. And we go, it wasn't real communism, huh? And then someone says, yeah, this capitalism sucks. We go, this isn't real capitalism. We're doing the same thing. Like, we don't have to be married to our definitions. And so that's a big part of it. And then I guess one final thing is just... No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so... What a lot of people on the right, what a lot of people on the left consider capitalism, a lot of people who consider themselves capitalists, we call it, crony corporatism or corporatism or, crony capitalism, cronyism. Like we throw in the crony on top of it to be like, no, that's different. That's not what we're about. That's cronyism. That's crony capitalism. That's, whatever. And by throwing on that extra, we think that we're differentiating, where the people on the opposite side, especially the left libertarians, they don't see that. They're like, capitalism is capitalism because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And we would do well to speak to people about definitions to find out that we often agree in principle on the terms. Now, Justico Mitchell in the comments says anarchy is a means to an end for Marxists, not the end. Actually, no, for straight up, not Marxist Leninists or Stalinists or Maoists or Dengists or anything like that, but for straight up, old school Marxists, no, the end to them is what they call anarchy, which is not just the elimination of unnatural hierarchies like the government and things like that, the state, but also the elimination of what they think to be all hierarchies being unnatural. Now, we as right-leaning anarchists would say, no, there are some hierarchies that are natural. If I hire you to do something and I say, I'm paying you, but I need you to do this one thing for me, to whatever extent you're doing something for me in exchange for compensation, there's a level of hierarchy. There's a hierarchy that comes from, trusting people to be experts on something and deferring to them on things, but choosing to defer to them. So what's important to us isn't removing all hierarchy, it's removing the coercion and allowing hierarchy to naturally rise and naturally be created in a much more decentralized way and based on actual merit and value rather than, I'm going to point a gun at you and force you into my hierarchy, or use the state or use some kind of coercive mechanisms to force you into it. But no, they want what they call anarchy as well, which is another perfect example of definitions. We can often talk to each other, and even if we don't walk away agreeing 100%, we can walk away realizing, wow, I agree with this person a lot more than I did before. The other, and part of that, what leans into that is, talk to the other person as though you actually want to hear what they have to say, instead of have a debate and an argument with them. Even if they're trying to still have that argument with you, you don't have to match their energy. You can say to them, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, okay, that's interesting. What do you think about that? Two things happen. Number one, you're finding out what they actually think. And number two, they in the back of their head are realizing, wow, this person actually wants to have a conversation with me. They're not, I can put my dukes down, and we can actually have a talk and a good faith flowing of ideas between each other. That will go so much further, not just in the libertarian world, but in everything that we do. Approaching people as people who have at least a valid, potential valid points to make, and that you might be missing out by fighting them instead of listening to them, and hopefully they can get their dukes down, so that now they're not missing out on what you can share with them. So that's the answer to that. Let's see here. Someone asked, how is mixtape pronounced? I can't find it anymore. It's just mixtape, mixtap. It's just mixtape. Yeah, kill him with kindness, Elizabeth.
How is it pronounced?
Yeah, he was. Well, I guess no. He was saying, how is it spelled? It's just mixtape.
Oh.
Yeah, not pronounced. How is it spelled? Mixtap. It's just mixtape. So here's the next one from Adam. Next question from Adam.
Hey, Spike and Guy on Left. This is Adam from Missouri calling in on the Chris Reynolds, personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor, call-in moment. And what I've got for you this time is something I've noticed is people on both the left and the right are pushing to bring in more freedom-minded and younger people into their respective parties in an attempt to reform them from the inside. Now, I can see how this could potentially work. However, I'm going to keep my personal opinions out of this one. What I want to know is, what's your guys' opinions on this, and how do you believe the libertarians should respond? Shalom, shalom. Have a blessed day, my friends.
Shalom.
So I for a very brief stint in time worked for the Republican Liberty Caucus, which was a caucus for the Republicans that was attempting to bring liberty-minded people into the Libertarian Party. This is what I've learned from them, and I feel as though it isn't much different on the Democrats, if at all. People will run as liberty candidates. A good example of this would be, oh God, the woman from your state. She was a big
Nikki Haley.
Now she's against him.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley. Gosh, that's so long ago. Example. Yeah, she ran as like a libertarian-minded. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, she ran as like a Ron Paulite.
Yeah.
But they run as these liberty-minded candidates, and then they get in, and once they're inside, either the top brass in the parties are like, hey, you have to vote with us whenever we vote, and you end up just becoming one of them, or they primary you and you get kicked out. Obvious few exceptions being like Justin Amash, who he ended up leaving, and from the House, right? And Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
But if you take a look at say, somebody from Kentucky, maybe Rand, he started out as, Ron Paul. He was the second coming, of Ron Paul.
He was going to be Ron Paul in the Senate. Yeah.
Yep. And after 4 years of Trump, he's better than most senators, but not by much.
Not by much, and honestly, I think it's offset by the fact that he's putting the libertarian brand on that stuff he does. So the libertarian brand, sir, so many times when I'll say libertarian, there are times that people will say, or I'll say I'm a libertarian, and people go, oh, like Rand Paul, and I'm like, nope. Like a libertarian, here's what libertarians think. And they'll say, oh, but Rand Paul. I'm like, I'm not Rand Paul. Rand Paul is a Republican. He describes himself as a constitutionalist conservative. He is not a libertarian. And he has taken that mantle of libertarianism and used it to describe Trumpism with a little liberty flair at the end. But the liberty flair is just mostly rhetoric, right? Like, he introduces the Breonna Taylor Act, which is a great Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. It's a great thing. It ends no-knock raids. It had 0% chance of passing. It did not pass and never will pass. Or at least under Republicans and Democrats, it won't pass. But then what he does is he'll turn around and vote for these absurd budgets that, give, trillions of dollars in additional deficit spending, which he said he wouldn't do. Then he will vote for, terrible appointees to the, intelligence, director of intelligence, to State Department, to Defense Department, as long as it's a Republican doing it. Then he will meet with Donald Trump and go, I just talked to Donald Trump and he said he's going to end the wars. Yay, liberty. And then Trump doesn't do anything. But then Trump gets to turn around and say, yeah, I'm somewhat libertarian. Rand Paul likes me. So, yeah, I'd say his slightly better voting record is offset by the fact that he is he's the most prominent person in politics who calls himself a libertarian. And he's also the literal heir of Ron Paul. And it's just very disappointing. It is extremely disappointing. So you can either go that way, or an equivalent on the Democratic side is AOC. AOC talks a great game about a lot of stuff, even a liberty-minded game on certain things, especially when it comes to wars and decriminalization and the war on people, the war on drugs, and all this stuff. Then she votes for it. She was one of the most outspoken about this stimulus bill. Then she voted for it. So there's one of two things that you can do: is you can
she and Trump,
go with a program, or you can get kicked out. Go ahead.
She and Trump were on two opposite sides. Both of them were saying, oh, we shouldn't pass this bill because of reasons. And same reasons for both, I think. They didn't have time to read it. It's a terrible bill. We don't know what's in it. All that. Both she and Trump. Well, she voted for it. Trump signed it. And then pulled this thing of saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to send back my recommendations for changes, which do nothing, because if they decide not to, it goes as is, and the worst I can do is keep it from being implemented for 30 days, and I'm not even going to be president for that long." Right.
And people went, he pocket vetoed. No, he didn't. There is no such thing as a pocket veto or a line item veto. He didn't do it. Well, actually, there is a pocket veto that's refusing to sign it. He didn't do that. He signed it. He literally signed it. She literally voted for it. You're never going to be able to change the Republican or Democrat parties from the inside, because they are one party. They are the Republicrat machine that has been built for the benefit of a small handful of incredibly powerful crony corporations and multi-billionaires who use these two parties and the good cop, bad cop routine that they've created to rob Americans of having a viable option away from the theft that that's being imposed upon them by those powerful people and the clowns they put in office. There is no changing that system. You have to replace them with people who aren't going to do that and who want to not only just replace them in office, but actually dismantle that entire system. So, here is the next question from Will.
Will McElveen here on the Chris Reynolds personal injury attorney at law anchor call-in moment, as Laser Legend would say, TM. Got a question for y'all on speed limits. Is it just me, or is speed limits just arbitrary? Like, I should be able to go as fast as I want as long as I'm not endangering people. I mean, come on now. It's just bullshit. Second question. Spike, I'm more than willing to come to your house and rifle through your CD collection so I can find this
It's not
mixtape.
on
I
this.
feel like we need to have this mixtape. Anyway, you know how I feel about y'all. I love y'all. And hashtag guy on phone.
There is
I love me
no
some Will
fit. So
McElveen.
yeah. Oh, I love Will. So everyone, there was both a CD and cassette of the mixtape. There were actually multiple CDs and cassettes because all the tracks couldn't fit on just one. Those are all gone. Those were not sure why. All of my cars get totaled eventually, either by me or someone else. It's just what happens. And I keep my cars until they get totaled, and then I get a new one. Usually, often by someone else. But I had a CD and I had a cassette because the CD changer in my, was it the Mark 8 or the Town Car? One of my cars stopped working, so I actually recorded cassettes from the CDs. So because the CD changer stopped working. So that existed. There is none of those exist anymore. They don't. I have the actual files on both my phone and my computer. So there's nothing to rifle through. It's not lost. And it is somewhere online.
So if this CD is so fire, is there a chance that this CD totaled your car?
There is a not 0% chance that's that it was so
Somebody
good
said-
that listening to it, I got distracted from driving. There may have been other things that also distracted.
Jessica Mitchell said, Spike, what's your social? I need to find your mixtape.
Do you need my credit card number too? That'll probably help.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's I just want to say, I said from the beginning, I'm like, you're not going to find my mixtape. I was like, we're going to find it. It's not like, it's not cryptic. If you can find it, it's going to be very easy. Like it says mixtape. Here, I'll show here.
Mixtape.
It's called Spike Cohen Mixtape. Here's a little.
Now, as far as speed limits go.
Oh yeah,
you talk about
speed.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think that speed limits are necessary or should be a thing. To which oftentimes people will say, "What about in the school zones or residential areas where kids are?" And my answer is the same. No, they shouldn't exist. You speeding isn't breaking any real law. It's just a law that they've created for revenue. But if you hit somebody while doing 65 in a school zone, then yeah, you should probably be punished for manslaughter or murder. That's just my personal thought on it. It's just revenue. It's like a point. Like when they were talking about making the DUI limit 0.05 nationwide, that's just revenue building at that point.
That's like you had a drink earlier on in the day or the fall, or like you had a drink late at night and woke up the next morning to go to work and there's still a trace amount. It's revenue. It's just for revenue. You're not impaired in any real way. And when it comes to these speed limits, you're going 52 in a 45. And then especially like on these highways where you'll be coming off a highway where the speed limit's 65 or 70, and then right as you're getting off, it's now immediately 40 or 45, and there are a bunch of cops there. That's not about safety, because now they got everyone slamming on their brakes. That's not safe. Like it's not about safety. It's about revenue collection. So a little like for the people that want to pretend that this mixtape is not real, I don't know why I'm fueling this fire. I feel like I should be saying, "Oh no, you're right, it's not real," and then everyone would stop talking about it. But I feel challenged because it is real. Here's a. This is from. Is that gonna? Please. Why is that not focusing?
Well, it's because the light's shining right on it. it's your face light is shining on it, so you can't see it.
Well, that's not helping.
Oh, also,
No, that didn't seem to make a change. Here we go. Anyway, this is like, there's an actual Spike Cohen mixtape. Look, this is real. This is an actual.
There is
like, it's real. This I listened to this on a regular. I was listening to it earlier today. It's real.
And again, for 5 Bitcoins, I will release it.
Listen, for 2 Bitcoins, I'll release it. Anyway,
I was going to give you 3 of the Bitcoins.
Oh, then no. You have to give it to Matt. Give it to Matt. So
for 5
all right. So
Bitcoins,
thank you.
You can have the mixtape.
For the low price of $250,000, you too can have the Spike Cohen mixtape. Here's the next question from Will.
Will McElveen here with the Barcelona Minute. Just curious what y'all think is going to happen in La Liga. Barca's tied on points, if I remember correctly.
Why?
Real is unfortunately atop the table. But what do y'all think? Can Messi and the Blaugrana pull it back, or is it just another trophyless season? Love you guys. Also, side note, Corn Pop told me to stop telling y'all about soccer, obviously. But anyway, trying to think if there was anything else. I tried to leave a message earlier and it wouldn't let me. I don't know why. And I can't remember for the life of me what it was. Anyway, hashtag guy on phone.
He's like the Bob Ross of leaving messages. Like, hey,
he is.
I tried leaving a message before. No big deal. But
I did not understand that question fully, but I'm going to say that Yep. That Messi and the boys will go trophyless this year.
Yeah. Tropulus.
That's just my guess. Tropulus. I don't know what that is.
It doesn't look like it's a real word. I like it, though. I want to make that be a word. Here's a question from Scott.
Hello, guy on left and Spike. This is Scott from your favorite blue state, deep in the trenches, Seattle.
This will never not be funny that people are like, hey, Spike, and guy on left. Anyway, sorry.
Seattle, Washington, calling on the Chris Reynolds attorney.
Guy on left.
I just love it. I love that it's become a thing. That it's like
I just leaned into it at this point.
You're now guy on left. We have team guy on left shirts at the store, Muddy Waters store. You can go buy a team guy on left shirt.
Hotline. I have a 2-part question here, and feel free to answer both or none. I just recently purchased the Spike Cohen neck gaiter and the Muddied Waters media hoodie off of the website. How do I convince my wife that the newfound attention I'm receiving from both ladies and gentlemen alike is probably more closely related to Spike's face covering my face? And second question, what are the chances of us getting a drunk Matt Hicks is my spirit animal t-shirt on the website? Hashtag Laser Legend, hashtag Spike for anything he wants to run for, hashtag free the guy on the left, hashtag Welty for governor, Washington State.
I like Welty. I would definitely go with Anthony Welty for governor.
I love Welty.
I would support that ticket. I'd support the hell out of that ticket. I don't know. A drunk Matt Hicks is my
spirit animal.
It's my spirit animal. I'm not against it. I'm not against it.
I see no problem putting that.
I have no problem with doing that.
We just need our graphics guy to put that together.
I was gonna say if someone wants to make a graphic for that, a high quality graphic for that we can be used for screen printing, let's do it. And I mean, listen, it's not gonna be hard to convince your wife when she sees the gator. She sees me doing the thing. She's gonna be like, "Oh, I get it. I get why the ladies and gentlemen are coming to our yard for your milkshake."
I recommend.
I don't think there's going to have to be a lot of explanation.
when you're wearing the gaiter, what I recommend is tucking the head in, but trying to make it where the body is all showing, so it just looks like you have this really large head on this body doing the shirt open thing.
That'll get even more attention.
That would get all the attention. That's how I would wear it.
And again, you're not going to have to explain this to your wife. It's going to be intuitive. She's going to be like, "Oh, okay, I get it." But thank you for calling. Yeah. I think that was Scott's first call, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, thank
you for
not
visiting our store and buying things.
Yeah, thank you for buying our stuff. Everyone, if you want your wife to be jealous of you, if you be like Scott and make your spouse jealous, so that they'll want to buy stuff on our store too. Muddy Waters Media, then you press the store button. So now we have 2 questions from Matt Laser Legend Hicks himself.
Hey guys, this is Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, TM. It's time for my serious question. So I heard an interview that Lindsey Graham did on, I don't know, I think Fox News, because that's where he lives, basically. Yeah, Lindsey Graham. And he said
Wait a second. Wait.
Trump has a...
I feel personally attacked. Because I'm on Fox News every week now. I'm sure you didn't mean it that way.
Has a
you're
vibrant
on
future in the Republican Party.
What was that?
You're on Kennedy. That's different. That's not like... You're not on Tucker.
That's fair. No, you're right. You're right. I'm not on like the 5 or whatever. Okay. That's fair.
Right.
Vibrant future in the Republican Party. I'd like to get your guys' opinion on how you think that shit's going to play out. Hashtag Laser Legend.
I need to play this part again because I didn't hear it.
He said, no,
vibrant future.
I heard it.
Saying that Lindsey Graham has a vibrant future in the Republican Party?
No, Lindsey Graham said that Trump has a vibrant future in the Republican Party. And we kind of touched on this earlier. And yes, Trump does have a vibrant future in the Republican Party. Will it be Donald Trump or will it be one of the Trumps?
That's also possible.
Either way, Trump's legacy is going to be living on in the Republican Party, and the Trumpites, the MAGA people, they're going to be lining up to vote for, whether it's Don Jr. or Eric or Ivanka or Barron or even the other one whose name I don't know. They'll continue to do. They will absolutely line up to. But they will absolutely line up to do this, and it will become part of the Republican DNA, essentially, I think. So Lindsey Graham is right. Yes, there is a vibrant future for Trump in the in the Republican Party. There is a vibrant future for Trump in the Republican Party, but it's whether or not the people he has, whether
it's him or another Trump. Yeah. I honestly think Donald Trump himself, if he stays in the party, will continue to be the dominant person in the party. He will probably destroy the party in the process, ensuring that he stays dominant because everyone else is going to leave and jump ship to either the Democrats or form their own party or join the Libertarians or some other third party or just not vote anymore because they've become totally blackpilled. But can he continue to stay dominant? Very possibly. That's very possible. Dominant in American politics, he'll dominate the conversation, but he's never going to get elected again. If he ran again, he's going to lose by an even wider margin. It's people are souring on him, and it's him. In this last election, Republicans did well. They held way more seats than they were expected to hold in the Senate because they were defending the 2014 landslide they had in the Senate because it was 6 years later. They gained 12 seats in the House. They gained a ton of seats at the state and local level. This was a we don't want Donald Trump anymore decision. So, and he could succeed in destroying the Republican Party in the process, or making the Republican Party just very, very small. And because the Republican system relies on the lesser evils thing, they'll have to create something else to replace it, or take it over and keep it as a lesser evil party. But I really don't know what to tell you. So here's our final one from Matt Hicks.
Hello, Gone Left and Spike. This is Matt Hicks calling in on the personal injury attorney, Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, anchor call-in moment, TM. I'm sure stop barking. I'm sure you're well aware that dear Miss Amy Cooper, I think it's Amy, whatever, white lady in New York who called the cops on a black guy because he was bird watching and she didn't have her dog on a leash. If you haven't talked about it yet, yeah, she had all the charges against her dropped. Kind of like to get your thoughts on that one. Yeah. Hashtag Laser Legend.
So for anybody who doesn't know what Matt is talking about, we happen to have video of the incident as it
We
happened.
do, which I'm pulling up right now as we speak.
Would you please stop?
They can hear it.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking pictures and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me?
So she's choking the dog while she's threatening to try to have a black guy killed by the police.
I'm sorry, I'm in the ramble, and there is a man, African American, who has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble.
So this happened like 8 months ago. Somebody said, this is pretty old. Yeah, it is. Today, I think it was today. It's today or yesterday. All charges against her were dropped. And the reason that they were dropped, according to New York, the reason that even the dog hates her, the reason that they were dropped, according to New York, is that as part of a plea deal, she went through like anger management classes and sensitivity courses and something. And she and her therapist counselor said that she learned a lot, and that the counselor doesn't believe that she is a threat or that she has any chance of repeating, I guess. Now, I don't think that it would have been the same outcome had roles been reversed.
Of course. Yeah, so this is a perfect example of like when we talk about the disproportionate sentencing and harm and arrests that are happening for people of color and gender and sexual minorities and other marginalized people compared to the average situation that happens with white people. Again, every individual situation is different, but generally speaking, there's a easily trackable and measurable worsening of outcomes relative to whether you're a person of color or not, whether you're poor or not, whether you're gay or trans or pangender or not. We're not saying that we want white people to suffer as much as people of color are. We're saying the opposite. We want, when something happens with someone who isn't a white woman who apologizes afterwards and says, "Oh, so sorry," that they also get don't get the book thrown at them. Yes, I made her Canadian.
Did you just say sorry?
Sorry. I made her Canadian.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Felt that I'm feeling the Canadian vibe with that. We want where the courts go, oh, well, did you learn your lesson? Did the counselor, talk you through this and you learn your lesson? Okay, great, then whatever. Because let's be clear, we're talking about a woman. When you say, I'm going to call the police and say that an African-American gentleman is threatening my life, you are saying, I'm going to bring the police here to physically harm you, possibly even kill you. Like, that's a threat of violence. Yeah. To add a little cherry to the top of that mess, she's choking her dog. Like, that dog couldn't breathe a few of those times, and she's, like, basically abusing the dog. Again, on the scale of things, the whole threatening to have a man murdered or greatly beaten and put in a cage certainly outweighs the choking the dog. But she was also choking a dog. So it's like... Now, she's being about as much of a menace to everyone and everything around her as she could be in that moment.
For anybody who doesn't know how this entire situation got started, gentleman, I don't know his name anymore.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Ago. He was in the park with a pair of binoculars, bird watching, and she was letting her dog run around off the leash, and I think it was barking at him, and he said, "Hey, can you get your dog?" And then you kind of see everything that happens after that. She took offense to it, and then he started recording her. She didn't like it, and she said that she called the police and said, an African-American man is threatening me and my dog. An African-American man is threatening me and my... She said it like 4 times.
She said it like 3 or 4 times. I'm being threatened by an African-American man. Now, thankfully, when the police showed up...
Jesse Gifford has a good point, though. Birds aren't real. So what was he really doing?
Research Amy Cooper truth. No, listen, thankfully when the police showed up, they saw this for what it was. He was not charged with anything, and she was actually charged with filing a filing a false police report and I think animal cruelty. I'm honestly not sure all of the charges she had, but I mean we saw the stuff she could have been charged with. I'm happy that it sounds like, hopefully, I hope it's true, that she's learned her lesson and will never do something like this again. I hope that's true. And I'm glad that her life has not potentially, been ruined as a result, as a result of it. We want that to happen more for everyone. That's what we say when this is happening. Someone in the Jared said, when people say, well, yeah, white people get shot by the police too, like that's a good thing. People shouldn't have to worry about being shot by the police no matter what color you are. Exactly. When we're talking about this stuff and people go, well, white people get hurt by the police too. Yeah. Not proportionately the same unless they're poor, and then it's actually pretty close. But yeah, which is another reason to reform the police and hold them accountable and have restorative justice instead of punitive justice. Yes, it will help everyone. It will even help comfortable suburban upper middle white women, upper middle income white women. It'll help everyone. It'll be good for everyone. It'll be especially good for those who are the most likely to be harmed by the current system, but everyone will be helped by it. So that's what we think about it. Now, thankfully, because now what we do with this show is when we talk about the worst things, we just keep saying thankfully to make it sound better. Thankfully, we have a really good topic to talk about, which is brought to you by our new sponsor, The Gravy King. So, Joe Biden is thankfully doing what we talked about 26 episodes ago?
Yeah.
So 26 episodes ago, 20 back on episode 156. So
6 months ago.
Yeah, like 6 months ago, we talked about Joe Biden's plan for guns. And it was, spoiler alert, you want to watch that episode after this one, go find that. But spoiler alert,
For anybody
It
that's
ain't
part of the
good.
Muddied Waters group anybody that's part of the Muddied Waters group on Facebook, I said if you want to bone up for tomorrow's episode, listen to this episode.
Because we're pretty much going to say
many of
the
you
same
did.
thing.
So, right, because we're going to say pretty. Yes, I pretty much just took
pretty
those
much the
notes
same
and
thing.
moved them.
So thank you for the
as a-
boning that you did up. Thank you for boning up.
So as we all probably know, over the weekend, it was the 3rd anniversary of the Parkland shooting here in sunny Florida. And Joe Biden announced that because of that, he wanted to enact gun control laws to make sure that nothing like that ever happened again.
Which, a great way to make sure something never happens again is to create conditions that ensure that it happens more often. The reason that this shooting happened in Parkland was because the murderer, the shooter that went there, knew that he was going to a no gun zones. You will notice that there aren't any mass shootings at gun shows or pro Second Amendment events or Black Panther rallies or anywhere that has lots of people with guns, gun shows, shooting competitions, police departments. There's really nowhere where there's a lot of people walking around with guns do you ever hear or see mass shootings. Because mass shooters don't want to get shot back right away, at least. They want to kill a bunch of other people first. So they go to these fish in a barrel zones where they can pick people off casually. And that's what happened here. And then the reason it went on as long as it did was because there was a school resource officer there. But he didn't really feel much compulsion to jump into the fire. He waited until the shooting was over, and he waited for backup to come. So people died because they weren't able to defend themselves, and the guy who did have the gun stayed away from the gunfire because he wanted to live, turns out. And so what these policies do is, and we're going to dive into the specifics, but all of these policies make it so that millions more Americans are put in a situation where they are now at the mercy of the shooter, because they're unable to defend themselves by having their own weapon. They're at the mercy of the shooter and of hoping that the police, someone else, a stranger with a gun, will show up and decide to risk their life to save them in time for it to actually be effective. So let's basically, Joe Biden said, let's honor the Parkland, those who died in Parkland by making more Parklands happen in the future.
Right. And he really needs to get that through in the next 2 years before there's a relatively decent chance that Republicans take back one of the chambers, and then the gun control becomes very watered down.
Yeah. Right.
It's still going to be there.
It's still going to be there. It's just going to be watered down. Yeah.
Right. Now, what he said in his statement was that he wanted to focus on 3 things: requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets.
Which is...
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Weapons of war. A medium game hunting rifle. A weapon of war.
Weapons of war on our streets. America is something.
He would also forget what he was saying.
Country.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's why I like just making up the stuff that he says, because I don't even have to really think about it. It just, I can trail off.
Exactly.
Now, if you compare it to what he said during the campaign, he had 8 headline policies, most of which had sub policies that they wanted to include. The list of legislations are adequately fund the background check system, incentivize state extreme risk or red flag laws.
Red flag laws.
Create an effective program to ensure individuals who become prohibited from possessing firearms relinquish their weapons. Give states incentives to set up gun licensing programs. Close other loopholes in the federal background check system, including boyfriend loophole, the hate crime loophole, Charleston loophole, fugitive from justice loophole, and get weapons of war off our streets, and ending online sales of guns and ammo. Now, everything that he put in his abhorrent gun policy during the election season can be categorized into 3 parts. It can be categorized into requiring background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. Everything that he says that he wants to do fits into those 3 categories.
Yep. Yep.
Before somebody is like, well, incentivizing state extreme risk red flag laws. All right, yeah, but that he's just going to give funding to states in order to do it. That's not really a gun control law. That's just him saying we're going to give you money if you do this.
Your
Same
gun
with giving
rights. Go ahead.
Same with saying giving states incentives to set up gun licensing programs. He's going to be doing this through funding. He's going to be giving states money to do this. Now, and before anybody out there says, well, that won't work, remember, it was because of Ronald Reagan in the 80s giving states money for their highways that the drinking age became 21 and up across the nation.
Yep. Yep. When you tie funding to specific policies, they almost certainly happen, because now the state legislatures and the governor get together and go, we don't have to like this policy. It's how we get the money. The money's tied to it, so we just have to do it. So, that works as well as anything else. Red flag laws are possibly one of the worst things in here, because let's be clear. This is not just a violation of your right to keep and bear arms. It's a violation of your right to search and seizure without a warrant. It is a violation of your right to due process. It allows for any person to anonymously say that you're a threat and have a weapon, and the police will show up and take anything you have, usually first thing in the morning. This is they're coming to take our guns. They're coming to take our guns, even if they're legal, even if you've done everything legal to own them, because someone anonymously said something about you. It's the worst. It's a SWAT law. It's a great way to have someone killed. If you want to kill someone, is to call the police and say that they're a risk and that they have guns. Please help. Please help.
Duncan Limp? Duncan Limp, right?
Duncan Limp?
Duncan Limp. Yeah, he had somebody call a red flag on him, and he was shot in his sleep.
Yep, he was shot in his sleep.
And there were arguably, the one I think is the worst is the eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on the streets, because that will lead to Ford being sued for DUIs. That'll lead to major companies being sued for user issues.
So here's, libertarians, we recognize that people should not be protected, immunized against being able to be sued. But the way these are worded is what's scary. It's not just saying, if a gun manufacturer, for example, makes something incorrectly, so they make the safety wrong and they knowingly make it wrong and they still put it out. Okay, so they've done something either neglectful or malicious that results in harm. Someone gets shot because their safety doesn't work, and it was because of an error, something that they either neglected to fix or knew was a problem and refused to fix it. Then they should be sued. But you're suing them for the fact that someone used a product that they made legally. And like Matt said, that opens the floodgates for suing stores for selling you alcohol, and then you go and drunk drive. That opens the gates for all sorts of things where you were essentially eliminating the concept of putting the culpability on the person who actually made the bad choice, as opposed to also putting culpability, because now the culpability won't be based on who's responsible. It'll be based on who has the most money. And that's a terrible, terrible way to weaponize politics against, certain industries you don't like. You can just shut them down with lawsuits. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible precedent. So one of the things is he wants to reduce high capacity magazines. The Parkland shooter used 10-round magazines. He didn't use high capacity magazines, or actually they're called normal capacity. 20 rounds and 30 rounds are normal capacity. He did not use what would be considered high capacity. He used low capacity magazines and was effectively able to murder 17 people in a gun-free zone. Do you know why he was effectively able to murder 17 people in a gun-free zone? Because it was a gun-free zone. Now, we're not saying everyone at the school needs to be armed. We're saying that people should be able to have the ability to defend themselves if they see fit. Another proposal that isn't explicitly mentioned in this, but it is mentioned in Sheila Jackson Lee's HB 127, is the so-called mental health, they call it protecting against people with mental health, but it's actually discriminating against people that have PTSD, people that are the victims of survivors of abuse and rape that are dealing with trauma as a result of that, people that have anxiety and depression. It also says people with a brain disease. I have multiple sclerosis. They might mean me. They might mean me as well. So they're discriminating against people. And as a result of that discrimination, people will say, well, I don't want to lose my ability to own a firearm and protect myself, so I'm just not going to seek treatment. I can take care of it myself. So now someone who has a mental health problem that if left untreated could get bad, and they're not getting treatment, and they still have the gun. This is genius level big brain stuff from gun grabbers.
Yeah. So, Stephen Merritt in the comments said, can I sue the government for making me pay to drive my own property if I get in an accident?
No, you can't, because of something called sovereign immunity. Now, that's an immunity I have no problem getting. Let's talk about getting rid of immunity. Let's get rid of qualified immunity for police officers and other agents of the state. Let's get rid of absolute immunity for judges and prosecutors and politicians. And let's get rid of sovereign immunity for the governments. Let's make it so they can get sued like we can too. See how that works.
Yeah, what Biden is proposing here is absolutely terrible. What is it? It's HB 127.
Yes, that's the, and I forget who it's named after. It was named after someone who was killed, and it's the Sheila Jackson Lee's bill. And to be clear, its odds of passing are almost nil. But this is the extreme thing. So they introduce something that sounds so extreme that anything else sounds moderate and reasonable by comparison. So it's about shifting the Overton window towards extreme control, where you got to get, insurance to even be able to have a weapon. And if you have one single round of ammunition, you can go to jail for decades. You create that outrage with this thing, and then Biden's proposal looks, moderate and common sense in comparison.
So you had the Sheila Jackson Lee bill that came out, and everybody was terrified by it. They were like, oh my God, they're trying to take our guns. We're going to have to pay for a license on every gun that we've owned ever in our lifetimes. And if we don't, we're going to have to pay X amount per year and blah, blah, blah. And now Biden comes out with, oh, this is all we want to do are these three things. We just want to require background checks on all gun sales, banning assault weapons and high capacity magazines, and eliminating immunity for gun manufacturers who knowingly put weapons of war on our streets. Now, there was something that wasn't in Sheila Jackson's bill that's in this one. He wants to be able to sue gun manufacturers. She didn't put that in there.
And those lawsuits,
had that not been in there,
the
NRA would have supported this as long as they said they wouldn't pass the other one.
Which is what Democrats want. You'll notice the way that they're running this is, we're going to fight the NRA. The NRA is one of their bad cop, good cop, bad cop routine people too. The NRA, every single gun law on the federal level that exists right now, every single gun restriction was either written by the NRA, including the worst one of them all, the NFA, the original major federal firearms, the National Firearms Act, was literally written by the NRA. Don't forget that. You can thank the NRA for the fact that you can't legally own a machine gun. So they did that, or they have supported or been neutral to it. So there isn't a single currently existing gun control law or executive order currently on the books that is not at least supported by the NRA. Joe Biden introduces this in order to be able to play the whole good cop, bad cop routine. Like Matt said, if he had left that part out, the NRA would have said, well, you know, we're good with background checks. We want to make sure that criminals don't have weapons. We're fine with the Second Amendment as long as you go through the legal process. Now, of course, the legal process is the right of the people shall not be infringed. It doesn't say the people who went through the legal process. It didn't even say the citizens. It said the people. Anyone under the presumed jurisdiction of the U.S. federal government should not have their right to be infringed by anyone, not just the federal government. Shall not be infringed by anyone. That is what the legal process is supposed to be. But no, the NRA would have absolutely supported it. That was added in order to create this false sense of opposition.
Which, for anybody who isn't following us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, Facebook fact checked the Second Amendment.
The Second
today.
Amendment, yeah.
The Second Amendment today, and said that it was false.
Yeah, there was a page from the fact check thing. There was a page from the Constitution Center that just has the Second Amendment, and it says this has been fact checked as false. The actual literal text of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with that.
And, right. Like their reasoning behind, like if you looked at the fact check on why they rated it false, one of them was Joe Biden won the election. Nowhere in there did we say that he didn't. Another one was George Washington never said this, which that's true. George Washington never said that. We didn't say he did, but George Washington never said it. So that part's, I rate that partly false.
But one of them was just literally the writing of the Second Amendment. There were like two different ones, and one had the text of George Washington, that quote that is not from George Washington, but the other one was just the Second Amendment. It was just like that should have been fact checked as very true, because that's it right there. That's what it says. Whether you like it or not, that's what the bill says. That's what the amendment says. Now, thankfully, there's a good chance that this will be negotiated down. Joe Biden will remove the part about. And by the way, when he's saying ending immunity for lawsuits, that also means from the federal government. So that's lawsuits meaning weaponized civil asset forfeiture, using the civil process to further damage businesses, because the civil process. The bar for the civil process is much lower than the criminal process. So it's just a way of weaponizing the state even further specifically against gun manufacturers. So that'll get dropped. And then the NRA will probably say, yeah, okay. Or they'll just stop talking about it. They'll start talking about how the radical left and Antifa are attacking our brave police officers, and then they'll ignore, the actual threat to our freedom.
Right.
Thankfully.
So everybody go visit Gun Owners of America. Thankfully. Yes. Everybody go visit Gun Owners of America. And if you're an NRA member, switch to the GOA. Because they are actually fighting for your rights, as opposed to negotiating them away.
NRA is negotiating rights away.
Why is everybody spelling mixtape as mixtap? Did you misspell it somewhere at some point?
If I did, I'm just finding out now.
Okay.
Maybe people don't know how to spell mixtape. Yeah, it's mixtape. So it got an E. It's got an E. But unless I may have spelled it wrong. But so we ended on a high note.
Eminem is on it. So that mixtape does have
Eminem is frequently is highly featured in it. So we ended on a high note. Joe Biden's coming to take your guns. And so that's good, thankfully.
This was a downer episode minus the
It was a downer. Well, we had Rachel. We started on a high with Rachel, and then we just then Cuomo murdered people and lied about it, and it just went. It just went downhill. So, folks, the good news is. Oh, the good news is that tomorrow, Wednesday, Wednesday the 17th, gosh, we're already almost 1/6 of the way through this year. And that's some good news, huh? Tomorrow, I have, on My Fellow Americans, on my show, I have Travis Wentworth, who is a cybersecurity and cryptocurrency expert. And so we're going to be diving into security issues related to cryptocurrency, some of the limitations on crypto, and the innovations that are going to be able to fix those issues, and how crypto and the blockchain will eventually be the way that we do everything. So that's going to be a really cool episode, especially in the midst of Dogecoin apparently becoming a thing. And I'm still convinced it's a meme. I'm going to buy $100 worth because if it ends up becoming the standard reserve currency for the entire world, I want to at least have some. I'm really looking forward to having that episode. And then on this weekend, I will be in the Libertarian Party of Tennessee convention in Lebanon, Tennessee. Go check that out. If you go to lptn.org, you can find out more. And then we will be right back here next week. Same muddy place, same muddy time for another brand spanking new episode of it's actually live, a live spanking episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom, where Matt Wright and I parse through the week's events, like this sweet little summer. Is it at least spring yet, or no? It's still winter.
No, it's still winter.
Oh,
it's like
God.
not until Passover. Fun fact. So my birthday is March 26th, and Passover starts the 27th.
Passover is on my anniversary.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Passover starts on the 27th, and it ends the day before Sarah's birthday, superfan Sarah Anderegg's birthday. So it's just like it starts with my birthday, Passover, Sarah's birthday.
There's symbolism there.
Fat by the end of that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, between the birthdays and that, you may have to give me that Joe Solosky shirt, because it's gonna look like you're gonna be pretty stuffed into it. So yeah, no, folks, thanks so much again.
Next week we have Joel Getz.
Yes, Joel Getz is running for. He's running for mayor of
somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, hold on. East Stroudsburg. East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
East Stroudsburg, PA.
And he's a cool guy. I got to hang out with him quite a bit when I was up in Pennsylvania last year, helping with the petitioning to get all libertarians on the ballot in Pennsylvania. And so that'll be a really good episode. And yes, if you guys donate $1,000 by next Tuesday, I will get hit with a salmon hot dog. That's in the comments.
$1,000 to muddiedwatersmedia@gmail.com, and Salmon Spike, the Slammin' Salmon will take a salmon hot dog himself to the face.
Right to the old kisser.
Slammin' Salmon Spike.
Yeah, and we'll record it in slow-mo too, so there'll be a video of the. So it's up to you. It's low. I mean, that's only like $20 from each of you. No, actually a little bit less. It's like $15 from each of you. No, it's like $10 from each of you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's like $10 from each of you. It's nothing. It's nothing. It is nothing. So, Matt, if people were trying to find us on the internet Is that even possible? And if so, how?
It is possible. If you are one of the old school people who enjoy listening to the sweet, dulcet, buttery sounds of our voices, all you would have to do is go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters.
Yes, you can listen to the why it's not coming up. Here we go. Here's this side.
You can go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters.
And you can listen.
And while you're there, you can leave us messages that we will play live on the air.
Hey, everybody.
You can also donate money to us outside of the $10 that you're donating to watch Spike get slapped with a salmon hot dog.
There we go. We got $10 in.
We already got $10.
Just $10. We're $990 away from the old thing right there.
We are getting $1,000 to get Spike. And if you go to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters right now and donate money, we will give you a shout out on the show immediately. Yes. But you have to do it quick because we're about to end this segment.
Okay, someone asked for a link. I think that's to the anchor.fm/muddiedwaters. You can go right there. I just put it in the thing so you guys can go there. Yeah, I got it back. I'm going back, and then we can just go, and you can go there. And I'm telling you, you guys can raise $1,000 so fast. I believe in you. We're gonna get it. You could probably do it. I'm gonna make the thing myself. I'm gonna make the hot dog from salmon, and I'll form it and make it. You're gonna make it yourself from salmon. I'm gonna actually make a salmon hot dog from actual salmon and form it into a cylindrical thing that I will then cook, and we will circle back. That costs $20. We circle back. We're gonna circle back. We have to give Meg Jones a shout out for donating money on Anchor. Meg Jones, shout out to Meg Jones for the donation on Anchor. Shout out to Meg Jones, which is funny because Meg Jones hates this segment so much. Of this part, Meg Jones hates it. Who gets to hate you? The ASMR. I think that I'll probably be hitting myself, but maybe I can get my wife to hit me with it because there's not really anyone else here. We might be able to get Matt X to come up for it. Matt X would definitely come up for it. No promises, but we might be able to get Matt Hicks to hit me in the face with a hot dog live on TV. So $1,000. I believe in y'all. We love you.
Or you can find this and every other episode at muddiedwatersmedia.com.
Well, folks, I am excited. Thank you, Sarah, for another $10. I am excited. We know I believe in y'all. It's going to happen. I will see you here Wednesday, tomorrow, at 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be doing our show, and then we'll see you hopefully in Tennessee, if you can join us in Tennessee, in Lebanon, Tennessee. And then we'll see you right back here for Tuesday for the Muddy Waters of Freedom.
It's Lebanon.
Lebanon. What am I saying? I'm saying Lebanon. Oh, it's Lebanon?
If you're from there, it's Lebanon.
It's not Lebanon. Okay. All right, Lebanon.
No, it's Lebanon.
Join us in Lebanon.
Lebanon, Tennessee.
You know what? I can't even be upset because I was in Worcester, Mass, spelled Worcester. But, Worcester, sure.
Well, yeah, it's where Worcestershire sauce comes from.
Folks, thanks so much for tuning in again. We will see you tomorrow and next week. And where we're going...
We don't need roads.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I often note I'm going to circle back. I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly. I'll circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back with all of you.
Taking cocaine or not? What do you think?
This is such a good question. I have not had the opportunity to dig into that. I'll circle back.
It was a massive dump. To this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from.
I'm not aware of anything, but we'll circle back.
Fish
uncircumcised Philistine? Who do you think he is?
As a mom myself, I want to know all the details. I have to circle back.
Come on, man. You know what I mean?
I will venture to get you an answer on that, and maybe we can talk about it, and you'll circle back. I will have to circle back on that one. But we'll circle back. But I will have to circle back with you. Let me give you a very specific example. I'll circle back. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back.
This president knew back in January. Why did he tell us? Why did he warn us?
There are a number of ways to combat misinformation. One of them is circle back.
You told us that Trump was invincible and Hillary was in the prison, right?
I don't really have any predictions for you on that. I can circle back. Let me see if I can get more detail for you on that. Circle back.
I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Did you?
We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. I'll circle back. I don't have anything more for you. And that communication has been lacking. Well, as you know, let me give you a very specific example. I'll circle back. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back. Circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back. Circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back.